Assalamu alaikum, shalom, peace be with you. One of the most challenging aspects in Islam or in the Quran is understanding what is Rasul and what is Allah. When there is a phrase that you will find as you read the Quran, wa ati'ullah wa ati'ur Rasul, loosely translated as obey Allah and obey Rasul. If you don't have the clarity about what is Allah and what is Rasul, then you don't have the clarity what to do with your life, or you don't have the clarity about the message that the messenger delivering to you. So let's take a look at probably one of the best ways to understand what is Allah and what is Rasul. First, you have to be able to substantiate factually the subject of the matter, or the subject matter, what is Allah and what is Rasul. Both of these components must be within your realm of consciousness. It cannot be above your head. It cannot be through belief system. Why Allah and Rasul through belief system end up being a futile approach to understand the message that Allah is conveying, or what Rasul is conveying to you. Now, in order to understand both of these components must be within the realm of reality, must be grounded, and you are also must be grounded. If you are going to approach these components through faith, through aqidah, and through belief system that asks you to go blindly and to detach from reality, you're not going to get there. You're not going to find what Allah is. You're not going to find what the messenger is saying to you. But if you cannot actualize, and if you cannot bring forth objectively what is Allah and what is Rasul, then you cannot follow those elements. Okay? You cannot claim that the message coming from those components if you have no idea what Allah and if you have no idea what Rasul is. If Allah is inaccessible to humans, then Allah is non-existence. It cannot harm you and it cannot guide you. The same thing with Rasul. If you cannot bring forth what is Rasul, if you cannot feel and experience what is Rasul, then you cannot substantiate the message that the Rasul brings for you. Okay, so why this is important? Because this is what makes Muslim community into darkness, into ignorance, into savages. Because the Rasul and Allah is inaccessible to the community, to everyone. So again, in order to understand the command or the phrase wa ati'ullah wa ati'ur Rasul, these two components must within your way of being, must within yourself. Okay, now let's take a look at two verses. This is among verses. There are other verses, but I'm showing to you. One is verse 11, chapter 42. At the end of the verse, there's a loosely translation as there is nothing like into him. Why this translation is a problem? Because is the referring to as far as the him here referring to a deity, that makes Allah is inaccessible to humans. So if that is the case, then you never know what Allah is, and you cannot confirm what Allah is saying to you. So the better way to understand the phrase, there is nothing like unto, not him, but unto creation, meaning there's no two identical creations or alike, no two identical creation among creations, even the twins, even though they look the same, the facial expression, their physiology or their physique is the same, their hair color is the same, but their fingerprint might not be the same. That's how should be understood. And then also verse 16, chapter 50, it says, we are closer to your jugular vein. This telling you that Allah is inseparable, is not separate from you, from creation. Understand throughout the Quran, when the Quran talks about Allah, it's always referring to humans, the creations themselves. The Quran never once talks about Allah as an entity beyond the creation or separate from the creations. Never once the Quran talks about Allah as a deity to worship. Okay, and that's why when you read verse 11, chapter Ar-Ra'd, in Allah la yughayru ma biqawmin hatta yughayru ma bi anfusihim, that phrase should be understood in Allah, Allah in that context, in that statement, referring to human. So meaning in that the quote I just read to you, humans cannot change the condition of their lives until they change what's going on in their head. Okay, so this position eliminate all the confusions that you find in Islam. So the notion that Islam, the idea of God in Islam that is separable from creations, that has caused so much harm to people, to society. That idea, the idea of God in Islam, has not enlightened humanity whatsoever. Okay, the idea of God that traditions of Islam present has not bring the ummah into good people, good society that is productive, that is represent human flourishing, that speaks to our soul. And it is time to recalibrate understanding of wa ati'ullah wa ati'ur Rasul in order to have clarity, to have better understanding, so that you can make this understanding useful for yourself and better to grow spiritually, mentally, and everything else. So until you get the clarity what Allah and what Rasul is, no matter how many times you read the Quran, no matter how well you memorize the Quran, you're not going to get much enlightenment out of that. And that's why you've seen when Muslims memorizing the Quran or read the Quran cover to cover during Ramadan and hope to see the Laylatul Qadar, the night that all the creation bow to the ground, that is senseless. Not a single Muslim have ever experienced such Laylatul Qadar that they see. So, back to my point that Allah and Rasul are not two components separate from you. So I just explained that Allah is not unique to creations. Allah is part of you. Allah is part of the creation. Allah is part of the essence of your way of being. Okay? So that is Allah. Now, let me unpack about the Rasul. Rasul is the same thing, part of your development, part of your evolution. When a Rasul convey a message to you, that is the messenger within you. When your mind or when your heart beats, when your heart beat and when your heart resonate with you about things that you've seen, that is the messenger. Or when you have an idea in your mind and whether what you put in your head, and your mind will generate energy, will generate feeling and emotion. So that is your messenger. So in order to be you as a person, to have the self, the higher self, and your personal spirituality, and you have to be you. You cannot be somebody else. So follow you, which is yourself, and follow your own mind, your own emotion, your own, what your heart is telling you as your messenger. So the messenger has the message, risala, within all creation. This is part of human endowments that we are inherently, that we are inherent naturally when we are born, and that human endowments is cannot be taken away from humans. In order to make the most of life, you have to tap into human endowments, your fitrah. Okay, so your fitrah is your intrinsic nature of your way of being. Now, that is the close, the clearest and the most useful and meaningful way of understanding what is Allah and what is Rasul. Having that kind of understanding, you can tap into your potential and what's your what you're calling for. And when you're trying to follow the messenger, what is the message for you, you're not going to ask through somebody else coming from 7 centuries ago. Okay, because whatever the message that the Creator provides you, everything is within you, within reach. This would take meditation, it would take contemplation and introspective in order to see ourselves in the mirror and making a necessary adjustment for growth, in order to tap into the higher consciousness. So that's, I think, the best way that how to understand Rasul and Allah, and what Allah and what Rasul means. By having that approach, these two components are no longer a mystery to you. Okay? And by having this kind of understanding makes the phrase a living message in of itself. So instead of what traditions articulates, that we learn that the messenger referring to Muhammad, The problem with that approach, like I said earlier, has not enlightened community. In fact, has been taking a community into darkness, into savages, throughout pretty much since the beginning of Islam. So there is no the Islamic golden age ever existed. The notion somehow Andalusia in Spain that used to have a state of enlightenment in Islam, that's a bunch of BS. There's no evidence whatsoever that Andalusia in Spain have effect on the community that have enlightened the Muslim community to this day about, about the nature of Islam, or about the essence of the religion of Islam and what it represents. What we do now thus far, Islam has not enlightened society. Islam as a tradition, or Ahlul Sunnah, in fact, has taken Muslims into savages, into despondency, and into self-destructive and bloodshed. So Muslims has taken the Quran not to empower ourselves in order to make a meaningful life, a life that is fulfilled, life that is enlightened, life that is, make your heart felt. Okay, so so the belief, that's why the belief systems that we have in Islam is problematic. That's why you cannot understand the concept of wa'ati'ullah, wa'ati'ur Rasul to the belief system that we have in Islam. So it's a time to put that aside. This is time to let it go, and that should be the things of the past. I know that many of you may feel this is very hard to do, but if you are a true seekers, if you are true to yourself, you must be willing to accept what is the facts and what is not. So Allah must be factual. Rasul must be factual in order for you to understand what Allah is saying to you and what is Rasul is conveying to you. Until you can do that, until you have the courage to accept that, and then, if you put Allah and Rasul in the realm of beyond your awareness, beyond your consciousness, then you're not going to know what Allah and Rasul is conveying to you, and you just follow darkness and dogmas, and end up trap yourself into perpetuate ignorance and violence, as we have seen thus far. So that's all for now, folks, and I hope this matter about Rasul and Allah and how to understand the concept of wa'ati'ullah, wa'ati'ur Rasul in the Quran. I'm hoping to unpack this subject matter in other videos, so everybody can have a better understanding what to make of it, and how to cultivate the notion of Allah and Rasul. All for now. Shalom and Assalamu alaikum.